There's a lot to love about anime. It's an entertainment medium that we as otaku have come to love very much. So when we see our favorite titles taken and turned into this, we can take it a bit personally. Live action anime has always been a bit of a sticking point in the anime community, and today we're gonna find out why. I'm gonna talk about my personal reasons why I think that live action anime so far has not faithfully depicted the source material in a real and entertaining way, and why it probably cannot. So first, let's get this out of the way. There's no way that real humans can faithfully depict the physical appearance of anime characters. It just doesn't work. People simply don't look like that. While anime characters are very obviously attractive, they're only attractive in the context of the animation itself. The body proportions are stylized in such a way that if we saw, say, Maka from Soul Eater on the street, she would most likely be in a wheelchair. But the body proportions on its own is not really that much of a problem. We like the human body. We live in them. We kind of gotta like them. So what is the main problem with the physical anime character being translated into live action? It's the faces. By design, anime characters are highly emotive. Just look at the design of the face at a base level. What do we have? Large eyes and a mouth. The nose has been simplified down to just a couple lines, if any at all. And why is this? Well, let's look a little deeper. In most facial designs, you'll notice a few things. First off, the features of the face that show emotion the most clearly, the eyes and the mouth, are intensified in detail. They're shown much more clearly than any part of the face for very specific reasons. The eyes especially, which even tend to be drawn over the hair. And this is done intentionally. If we obscure the eyes, then they tend to take away from the emotions displayed within them. It's the same with the eyebrows. The face has been simplified to its most emotive parts, and those parts are greatly intensified to a degree that simply cannot be recreated in live action. So let's talk cinematography for a moment. For the most part, the camera placement is fairly normal in most scenes of any given anime, only there to catch whatever action or dialogue happens to be going on at the moment. But then there's the times when the animators really stretch their muscles and go all out in order to make the most out of an action or situation. This is called sakuga. In these particular moments, not only are the characters stylized in such a way to exaggerate the situation, but the camera really makes some wild movements. Big sweeping motions of both the character and the camera. It makes for some real problems when it comes to live action. The Wachowskis, when making The Matrix, made it work. Having been very much inspired by anime, they wanted to make these movements come to life, and in doing so, changed cinematography as a whole. But for the most part, this isn't something you can do easily, even today, almost 2 decades later. Just take a look at this scene and pay close attention to the camera movement and work out in your head how that would have to move in real space in order to make this scene work. The Wachowskis made scenes like this happen in their day with groundbreaking cinematography techniques. But even then, they were limited. I mean, look at this. They made the same basic technique happen in 3 different scenes. In anime, that's not going to happen because they're not limited by physical space and how the camera can move within it. Live action anime adaptations simply don't have the budget to break any ground cinematically, nor the physical ability. But even if they did, who's to say that a live person in a live setting with that kind of cinematography could actually work? Would it do any justice to the scene? In my opinion, I don't think so. We all know the feeling of our favorite book being adapted to film, with great expectation only to have the plot be put in a blender. We expect it from movies because they're 2 entirely different mediums of entertainment. In books, everything is told to you, but in movies, they have to actually show it, which is a far more complex task than it could first appear. We're not in the characters' heads anymore. We're seeing them in front of us. And with that comes a lot of difficult problems you have to work out in making a film. How do you take something that was expressed in words and solely words, only dialogue and narration, and turn it into something visual? A lot of weird problems start to come about. Like in a book, you can say Mary broke John's heart. But how do you show John's heart breaking on camera? How do you capture that moment? So when you run into problems like this, then it starts to change the way you see the characters. It changes that dynamic. It changes the way you see the relationship between you and the character. The same thing applies to anime adaptations. Film is vastly more limited than animation in many regards. We're limited on how we show emotions, as we discussed in the first section of this video. We're limited to how we actually show the action, as we discussed in the second one. The basic idea is showing visual characters in their physical forms changes completely. It's an entirely different animal when you go from animation to film. But there's another thing that poses a lot of problems. We have a problem, especially in the Western adaptations like Dragon Ball Evolution and Ghost in the Shell and Death Note, that being the language and the culture. By nature, anime is Japanese, and there's a lot of nuances in the Japanese language and culture that simply don't translate as well in the West. When we watch anime, we're fully aware that this is Japanese production from a team of Japanese people. So when we see Western people doing Western things in the actual West, working from a plot that was entirely structured around a culture that is entirely different than the one it's taking place in, then we come across a lot of issues. The cognitive dissonance in this situation is jarring. Too many times these filmmakers make adaptations almost in spite of the culture they were built around. And I personally think that this does not give the production the respect it deserves. No film should be made in spite of its source material. People can accept if plot changes because of technical limitations or physical limitations. But what we can't and shouldn't accept is when you take something, remove its source, and then try to sell it as the original. You can't rip out the heart and try to sell the body. We as fans deserve better than that. Hey guys, thanks for watching this video. It took me forever to make. I'm gonna start posting on this channel a lot. I do a lot of gaming stuff on my original channel, but I think I'm gonna dedicate this entire channel to just anime stuff because it's a huge part of my life and I love it. So if you liked this video, go ahead and click that subscribe button because I'm gonna make a lot more stuff like this, or at least I hope so, if you guys like it. So thanks for watching, and as always, stay frosty.